Pranav Rao from Smartkarma, and I'm delighted to have with me today David Blennerhassett, an event-driven and special situations insight provider on Smartkarma, to discuss his recent insight on ENN Energy's takeover offer. David, thanks for your time today on the 18th of June. Could you give us a quick background on the deal and talk about what's peculiar about the deal consideration?
Sure, thanks, Pranav. Hello, everyone. So maybe just take a slight step back. Back in September 2020, ENN Natural Gas took around about a 35% stake in ENN to 688 HK, but they were actually able to consolidate after taking that, which is actually quite interesting. Just for everyone's background, the ENN Energy is actually primarily downstream. Like they provide gas distribution in China for homes and businesses, whereas the parent is more upstream, midstream. So it handles production and processing to large scale supply of gas and distributes to distributors like ENN Energy. So basically the merger itself, which I'm going to talk about, is more like a vertical integration. So the 26th of March, the announcement was that ENN Energy Natural Gas will issue 2.9427 new H shares and cash at $24.50. That's in Hong Kong dollars. So natural gas doesn't have a H share listing. It only has an A share listing at the moment. And this is where it gets a little bit sort of interesting. The fact that it's quite an unusual sort of deal structure, especially in Hong Kong, to have a large portion of the consideration to shareholders, which is an unknown scrip component. The IFA, which is Summerly, it's a local IFA here in Hong Kong, they backed out at a midpoint range of $18.86 for the enlarged merged entity. And so that means they come up with this sort of theoretical implied price of $80 per share for ENN Energy. So that's really the structure of the deal. It is unusual, and it's the complexity, or adds a layer of complexity which is not often seen in a deal of this sort of size, and uncertainty for shareholders. And it's not just on the pricing, trying to work out really where the H shares should trade, but even how much these new shares in Hong Kong, the liquidity of them too, and of course therefore the timing and the approval process to go with that. So hopefully that's a quick little nutshell of the deal terms.
Got it. Thanks for that, David. Where do you think ENN Natural Gas's H shares should trade, and what that might be worth to ENN Energy shareholders?
Yeah, I've had a look at the IFA's rundown. I mean, I think they've tried to did a decent job, but not a great job. And I think it's more complex than what they fully set out to achieve. I guess if you look at ENN, the Hong Kong listed company, it's up about 10% since the offer was announced. Whereas the parent is down about 3%. Now the parent's issuing about 70% of its current share base, which is a lot, but it's only moved about 3%. So the question is the market already pricing in a deal completion, even though it could be another 5-6 months out? I would prefer just to sort of defer to other listed AH utility companies, because this is what ENN actually is a utility, and see whether they are trading. And that's something that the IFA did not really set out to achieve. They looked at a few recently listed companies which are A shares, and they came out with new H shares, but they're all over the map. They're not in the same industry, and I just don't think that's representative. So at the moment, if there's about 10 utilities with AH shares, and the average discount, if you like, for the H shares is around about 40%. So right at this moment, ENN, the parent, is trading at around about $20 and change in Hong Kong dollars terms. So you could argue it could be worth maybe around 14 to 15 if you base it on a sort of a discount. If you want to sort of maybe take a bit of a haircut of say 30%, and I think that's probably a reasonably good indication of perhaps where I think it should trade. The problem is with this new sort of application proof that came out in Hong Kong, providing a bit more detail on the H share listing. It doesn't give you much of a pro forma information. And also what the enlarged entity would look like in terms of EBITDA, and those sort of numbers would be really, really helpful. I mean, I'll be playing around with profit. My back of the envelope would suggest that maybe it's looking at the A share at the moment, it's perhaps trading around 10 times forward PE, which probably doesn't look too bad compared to other sort of Hong Kong sort of peers. But again, I'm sort of fumbling around a bit in the dark because I don't have definitive numbers, and I'm not sure what else might be buried in terms of any sort of intercompany sort of deals or transactions. But so my reasoning is that 1886, as per the IFA, appears a little bit optimistic, where I think the enlarged entity potentially trade.
Got it. Thank you. I think in your coverage, you've kind of flagged that there's a vocal minority in the ENN Energy shareholder base. Is there any possibility you think that deal terms could be bumped here?
I think the short answer is no. In the initial announcement on the 26th of March, they said the cancellation price would not be increased, which is quite unusual. Usually when you see cash scrip deals or scrip deals here in Hong Kong, there's a tendency not to sort of draw a line in the sand because, well, things change, and especially the shares that are being exchanged into, that company may move, or there may be other sort of elements afoot. And now when you're dealing with something which is undefined, it is very unusual. But taking it as is, it seems to be quite black and white that they cannot increase. But I would sort of hesitate one bit, looking at, again, at the application proven on the Hong Kong Exchange yesterday. Apart from not providing the ratio of the H shares to be issued, which was in the initial announcement, it doesn't appear at all in the application proof. There is also in the application proof, there's no mention of no increase statement. And it could just be what it is, but maybe that's something also to take into account. But there is such thing as, I guess, truth in takeovers, which you see that sort of commentary more down in Australia. So my guess is no, they cannot. But I would say that I have an outside chance maybe they can, because I think there should be really room for a bit more of an increase in the share ratio. But again, it doesn't appear to be the opportunity to do so.
Got it. This is certainly an interesting situation. And thanks for all the color today, David. And listeners, check out David's coverage of the ENN Energy deal on Smartkarma and tune into our next Smart Call. Thanks.
Take care. Bye.